So I received a comment on my YouTube channel, and it was one of those comments that there was just a lot to unpack. I immediately told my husband I could make a video or a podcast from this one comment, but also reading it and discussing with my husband, just unpacking this one comment. Also, just I don't know if I could say sent a chill down my spine, but it just also made me think in like just there's a lot to this because it was disturbing in some ways the mentality that people have regarding bread these days. And we're going to unpack that. So, welcome back, y'all, to the Grains and Grit podcast. This is Grains and Grit, unsifted, unedited, unfiltered. I just get on here and I just start talking. I have a, excuse me, I have a slight outline and pretty much that's it. And that we just go off of. So, this allows me to go deeper than I can typically do on my YouTube channel if you follow me there. But let's dive into it. So, I received a comment. So I'm commenting on the comment today. So this is the comment. Now this was a comment on a short that I did in regards to if you listen to last week's episode or last episode that I did with the podcast, talking about the video that came out about the medieval bread, how that was healthier than the modern bread, and our modern bread is killing us, so on and so forth. So I did a short in response to that, and then if you haven't listened to the last podcast I did, I addressed that even further. I went even deeper with that video. So this is a comment on the short about that video. Follow that rabbit trail. Okay, so this is what this person stated. They stated, have to disagree. It is the modern process that is harmful. Pesticides, contaminants, genetic modification. That is the key issue. Sure, the fact that the fiber is gone is a problem in that your blood sugar spikes harder. But I would say if you have contaminated whole grain, you are no better off than store bread. I would even argue store bread may be better in that the locked up vitamins and minerals in the natural grain are removed and synthetic vitamins are placed in. Not ideal, but better to have a multivitamin than anti nutrients leaching what you got. However, the best option is fermentation, breaks down gluten, making it easier on the system, breaks down carbs, and the fiber slows digestion, lowering sugar spikes and makes the energy last, breaks down anti nutrients, allowing it to become richer in vitamins and minerals. There is a reason when you eat pure bread or beans, you get sick. Like me when I was on a soda bread kick. I don't know if you mean soda and bread or a soda bread kick. I don't know. But not so with fermented bread. All right, y'all. Okay. A lot to unpack. And then I'll get to the one that kind of chilled me a little bit. So first of all, let's just do easy stuff first. First of all, I've already addressed the glyphosate issue, the contaminant issue a million times. Glyphosate is not used as much as people think here in the United States with wheat farmers, only maybe 20 to 30%. Okay. And on top of that, if you're milling your grains yourself, get to know your farmer. You know where your wheat should be coming from, and you should know what they use. If you are buying organic, no glyphosate is used, period, whatsoever. None, not a zip. Okay. So buy organic wheat, get around that. Also, just know your farmer. If you're milling your own grains at home, milling your own wheat, you're buying directly straight from the farmer, and you're going to have far more control over that. Problem solved about that. Yes, absolutely. Glyphosate is probably contaminated store bought flour, store bought bread. Duh. But take matters into your own hands. You might be surprised. Okay. So there's that. Also, second thing, wheat is not genetically modified. There is a strain out there that they are trying to get approved. It has not been approved. No genetically modified wheat is being approved here in the United States to sell. There are other countries that are doing it, like Argentina, Australia, I believe Brazil. Look out if you are there. Okay, you got a problem. Genetically modified wheat is being sold there. So you need to watch out for that. Again, buy organic, know your farmer, problem solved. All right, so getting past that. Let's discuss the next thing, and that's the whole anti nutrient phytic acid thing. I keep doing videos about this, and I need to keep doing more. So, my last video that I did, I will find it and try to link it in the show notes below. But the last video I did about phytic acid, I actually come across a study where they actually tested bread that they even milled themselves, different types of one, whether it be an einkorn or a modern wheat. They did it with, commercial yeast or long fermented sourdough, and then they tested the phytic acid that was in that bread. And I'll go ahead and just give you the Cliff Notes version of that study. But one thing that shocked me was that the einkorn that had a long fermentation, a whole grain einkorn, long fermentation, actually increased the phytic acid. Well, that'll bake your noodle. Okay. That will bake your noodle right there. And what the reason why I say that is because phytic acid in and of itself is not necessarily bad. Your gut has phytase that's in it. It helps break it down. And also if you are consuming whole grains and overall a balanced diet, the whole anti-nutrient argument really doesn't matter. Throw it out the window. You really need to throw it out the window if you're using store-bought all-purpose flour. Because y'all, guess where phytic acid is? In the bran. Guess what's not an all-purpose white flour? The bran. So those people out there that are using sourdough on all-purpose or I say on white flour to break down the anti-nutrients are breaking down no anti-nutrients because they ain't there. There's no phytic acid there to break down. That's why I say sourdough with store-bought flour, all-purpose flour, not really doing you much good. Okay, I mean, you are getting the benefit of like the probiotics, prebiotics, that type of stuff. Like that part's fine, but that's pretty much it. Okay, it is far better that you mill your own grains using commercial yeast and consuming that. Even with our modern flour, modern wheat, ancient grains, heritage grains, it is far better that you mill your own grains, all right, and do it yourself. So that's the whole thing. Again, watch that video where I dive in deeper. But like the bottom line, I'm so tired of this anti-nutrient thing. Because overall, the studies have now come out. We know more now, y'all, than several years ago. We know more now. And studies have come out that ultimately, if you are consuming a balanced diet, you are going to be consuming enough of iron, of calcium, of all of these things that even with phytic acid that your body breaks down anyway, you're fine. Okay. You're gonna be fine. So everyone breathe. It's gonna be fine. So that was the other thing about his comment that I was like, oh my word, if I have to hear this one more time. Now let's really get into the part that chilled me, and I will say I've never heard before, but my husband pointed out that people were probably thinking it. And that was the whole part of it is better to have a store bread that has been stripped of the nutrients and then synthetically injected with man-made synthetic vitamins. That's actually better. Now, they did say it's not ideal, but that it's better than whole grain. Okay. That, I got a little chill down my spine because what that ultimately means is we, human beings, know more than God. We, mankind, who were created from the dirt, or, if you believe in evolution, that you were slime once, that you came out of nothing. But anyway, that's beside the point. God created us. God created man from the dirt. Women, we were created from his rib. Men from the dirt, women from the rib. And God, like, that's assuming that we know better than God, that we can do better on God's creation than him. And that right there is a problem, y'all. That is a huge problem. Not to mention the fact that that is just proven wrong time and time again. White flour was something that men thought, that mankind thought was better than your coarse, dense whole grain bread. Look at us. We now have white, fluffy stuff, and we are all better because of it. That is also, man thinking we were better and knew better than God, that we could alter a food, get it away from and do a such a processing up so highly I'm losing my brain here. Hold on. Highly processing the food. There it is. That we think that we can highly process our food and that somehow is better, that we can create all of these chemicals and that is somehow better, which makes sense if you do believe in the evolutionary viewpoint, because you ultimately believe that we're just a bunch of random chemicals anyway. And so more chemicals or better chemicals probably can make us random chemicals better. That's ultimately the view of evolutionists. That's what you believe. And so that is consistent with what you believe. But for me as a Bible believing Christian, I can go back to scripture and know for a fact 110% that we were created by a loving God, that we were created by God. He designed our bodies a certain way, and then he gave us food to eat. And he designed our food a certain way. Now we once again messed it up because, Eve had to go and eat that apple, and so did Adam, and or whatever fruit it was in the Garden of Eden, and then we got kicked out. And yes, our world has been corrupted because of sin. All right, that's why we have white flour, because of sin. Is because we live in a corrupted world, and we are constantly looking for ways to improve on our corrupted state. That's why we have fertilizers, why we have chemicals that people use on farms, because it's to make it easier. The curse was that it's going to be harder to grow your own wheat, to till the ground. You're going to have thorns and thistles, and it's going to be hard, and by the sweat of your brow you will eat your bread. That was part of the curse. We know how to work for our food. We couldn't just walk through a lush garden picking it off of trees, okay, or vines or whatever. That's part of the curse. We keep trying to improve that by making our lives easier with chemicals and fertilizers on our food, but that has also caused problems that we know of. Glyphosate, bad, cancer causing. Okay, this is why I think cancer is exploding and why we have so many health issues. Is because we've adulterated our food so much. So to think that it is better to have synthetic vitamins injected into a flour that's been stripped of its nutrients is absolutely terrifying. And no, thank you, sir or ma'am, whoever left this comment. And I don't mean to bash this for you. I say this in love, hoping that you, if you even listen to this podcast, hoping that this person or anyone else who thinks this, no, like I want to encourage you. That is not good. Okay. Man cannot improve on God's design. God created wheat in its whole grain form, and it is such a superfood. 40 out of 44 essential nutrients are in wheat. It is king of the grains. I mean, there's a reason why for thousands of years humanity survived on grains. It's why we call it the staff of life, the bread of life. Why Jesus himself compared himself to bread, because it is the bread of life. It is a staple. And that is because God gave it to us in whole grain form that we can grow and that it stores, and then we mill it and then we consume it, and it's delicious and it's whole grain and so many nutrients and so much of the fiber and all of these benefits that we need, especially in our modern world. And here we go as human beings thinking, I don't want any of that. I want the white fluffy stuff, the highly processed white stuff. Guess what's also highly processed and white? Cocaine. Okay. The cacao leaf is not bad. Actually, um, okay, what are they called? In like Peru, they're descendants of the Incans. In South America, they have the cacao leaf because it actually helps them with altitude sickness. So they actually consume cacao leaves in a tea to help because they're living like in thousands of feet altitude, and it helps with their sickness. That is wonderful. That's a plant that God gave to a people that need it because they're up high. They are living in these high altitudes. Well, then you go and take the cacao leaf, and I'm hoping I got that right. Cacao, that sounds right. I'm sorry if I really, but you get the idea. But then they take this leaf and they highly process it, and guess what comes from it? Cocaine. Guess what happens with cocaine? People do not so great stuff. Okay, not good, not the best stuff to have. Maybe in moderation, but it's still a highly white refined process product that is not good. Highly refined white sugar, no good. It is much better to have something. Now, I mean, sugar is sugar, but it's much better to have a natural sugar like honey is a natural sugar, or the cane sugar, because God gave us cane. And I'm really going on rabbit trails here, but that's what this podcast is for. All my rabbit trails. But that's what, even with cane sugar, getting it as close to it being ground up as possible, whether that's cane syrup, like we like to consume here in Florida. We grow, not we, but around here, people grow cane and we get our cane syrup and we use that instead of maple syrup because that's the plant that grows here in Florida. That's the plant that gives us a syrup. That's cane syrup. So that's what we consume. Again, rabbit trail, rabbit trail, rabbit trail. Anyway, we think that highly refined products we can do better. But the bottom line is we got to get back to the food that God gave us as food. Eat it as close to the way as he gave us as possible. And that as far as wheat goes, milling it, making that bread at home, Jesus said to give us our daily bread, to ask God the Father to give us our daily bread. Ask every day for your daily bread. That's how important it is because it is the staff of life. And if you consume it the real way, and it is so much better than that. And again, I know that this person said it in saying, like, well, if your whole grains are just contaminated with glyphosate, it is better to receive white flour with synthetic vitamins. I would say none of that is good. All of that needs to be avoided. And again, you can avoid it easily if you're milling your grains yourself and you know your farmer and you know you're getting grains that have not been sprayed with glyphosate or any of these bad chemicals, that is not genetically modified, none of the bad stuff. You can avoid it. But guess what? You have to take responsibility. All right? Tough love. Tough love here. You need to take responsibility. You need to stop with the excuses and saying, I don't have time for this. You do. All right. You have time. You can be milling and baking bread and kneading it right now while listening to this podcast. Okay. You can be doing that. You have time. We have electric grain mills now. We have electric ovens now. Even with propane, they are electrified. You can help monitor that heat. You don't have to do that. We have timers to remind us. We have bread machines. We have it easier than ever. This is the generation we've been given 10 talents. Okay. If you know the parable of the talents, we've been given the most. Now, what are we going to do with it? Okay? We just going to bury it in the dirt and say, "Oh, I didn't have time, God. I didn't have time." No. We've been given the most, so let's make the most of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm so thankful for washing machines, okay? For dryers, for our modern conveniences. Praise the Lord for electric grain mills. It saves this mama some time, okay? We are in this modern time. We have all these chemicals. We have all the EMFs and all the things all, around us. We live in a toxic world, but you can do something about it, and this is something you can do. Anyone can do. Small apartment, big house, whatever, you can do this. Mill your own grains, get to a grain mill your own grains, and take your bread back. We can reclaim this again, y'all. You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to keep injecting chemicals. Stop with the chemicals. Okay? Simple ingredients. Mill it yourself. So there you go, y'all. Oh, and wait, actually, just kidding. You also don't have to do a sourdough. You can just do commercial yeast because, again, most of the issues is you just need to get away from the white flour and you need to start milling your grains and consuming whole grain wheat that you've milled fresh yourself. That ultimately is the problem. Most people can switch to that using commercial yeast just fine. Now, for some people, and I say some because I do think it is the minority, where your gut health is so horrible, you still have some healing to do. And that's where you probably need to stick with your sourdoughs or fermentation or take time to just heal your gut so you can consume real products. Because real fiber, that's a lot on your gut. And if you've just destroyed it, it's not used to handling it, you may have a few issues. So that's why I say you may have to start slow, but ultimately for most people, okay, don't use the minority as the exception for you not to try it or do it. For most people, just switch to milling your own grains, whether it is ancient grains, heritage grains, or a modern wheat varieties. Mill them yourself, bake that bread, and you will be amazed at the health benefits that you have because this is the food God has given us. It is our staff of life, and it is time that we reclaim it. It is time that we speak and shout out the truth about this so we can get it back. And it's easier than you think. All right, y'all. So that's it for this episode. Hopefully to see y'all in the next or talk to you in the next episode. I'm used to saying see you. I know you can see me on YouTube, but you get it. Talk to you or see you in the next episode. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day and y'all take care.